Oh, the unthinkable, a deadly attack, another one on police, and it's 3 Baton Rouge area police officers who were murdered today, and 3 more officers were shot, and one at this hour remains in critical condition. He is fighting for his life. Police detailing the ambush minute by minute.
Today at approximately 8:40 a.m., several Louisiana law enforcement officers were shot near Airline Highway and Old Hammond Highway. A call came into Central Dispatch of the Baton Rouge City Police Department saying that there was a guy carrying a weapon, carrying a rifle, walking in that particular area at Airline and Goodwood. That was the information that came into us. Multiple officers were transported to local hospitals for treatment. I will tell you that 3 officers have died from injuries, 2 from the Baton Rouge Police Department, and 1 from the East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office. 1 East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's deputy is in critical condition, just got out of surgery a short time ago. The sheriff and the chief are going to speak on those. 2 additional officers suffered non-life-threatening wounds. They are in stable condition at the hospital now. At approximately 8:40 a.m., Baton Rouge PD officers at the convenience store observed the individual. He was wearing all black, standing behind a beauty supply store, holding a rifle. At approximately 8:42 a.m., reports were received of shots fired. At approximately 8:44 a.m., reports were received of officers down on the scene. At 8:45, reports received of more shots being fired. At 8:46 a.m., reports were received of the suspect, again, that was wearing all black, standing near a car wash located right next to the convenience store. At 8:48, our emergency EMS unit started arriving at the scene. They were staging so they could start approaching and getting the bodies that were at the scene to render first aid. Officers engaged the subject at that particular time, and he ultimately died at the scene. That was officers that were responding to the scene itself.
Louisiana State Police Superintendent Colonel Michael Edmondson and Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards go on the record from Baton Rouge. And good evening, gentlemen. And, as I've said to every single guest tonight, as I've said when I cover Dallas and every other instance, it really is hard to know what to say to you. And let me go to you first, Superintendent. What do you say to the people who work for you?
Well, I tell them all the time. I mean, remember your training and be safe. But I think what happened this morning is unfathomable. I mean, I was in the hospital with the governor, with our police chief, with our sheriff. Just the raw emotions from the family that were there were just unbelievable. To tell a family identifying their loved one as one of the ones that were killed, and just listen to that individual that I saw just a few days ago, to watch the emotions from the sheriff, from the police chief. It's very, very difficult. Been doing this a long time, 36 years, Greta. But it's difficult every single time to see that.
Governor, what do you tell the people of Louisiana? I mean, obviously this is, you've got the situation where there was a shooting last week in Louisiana, and now you've got this. I mean, what are you telling the citizens to sort of try to put the lid on, the great dissension here, and now great violence, great heartache, and even murder?
Well, this is not who we are. This is not what we are best at. Obviously, we need to do better. And quite frankly, Greta, until today, I was very proud of the folks here in Louisiana and Baton Rouge in particular, because we've had many, many demonstrations and protests and marches, all of which have been very peaceful. Today was the first act of violence related to the shooting since the shooting, and obviously it was horrendous. This is a very tough day. You mentioned that it's hard for you to get the words to ask questions about these incidents. As I was at the hospital earlier today with Colonel Edmondson and others, the words failed me in trying to have a good conversation with the family members of the deceased officers. This violence, this hatred, it just has to stop. There is nothing about this act today that is going to further anything of value here in Louisiana or elsewhere in the country. We just simply have to do better. And we have to root out this violence and this hatred. And we've got to stop targeting police officers. It is just completely uncalled for. And when you attack a police officer who's out there doing what he's supposed to do, protecting and serving, you really are attacking the very fabric of our nation, of our society, because we've got to have law and order.
Colonel, I work about 4 blocks in Washington, D.C. I'm in Cleveland tonight, but about 4 blocks from Law Enforcement Memorial. I've been down there a number of times. On the Record has done shows there. There are 22,000 names etched into that wall. When the murders happened in Dallas, I knew I'd be down there again soon, and now, you know, in Baton Rouge. And I can only think, I've talked to so many police officers, they are feeling so many of them feel like they're not getting support. Even the chief in Dallas, when he said he that he wanted support, that he wanted to make the day different, where he felt like getting support from the community. Do you feel that way? Do you feel there's no support for the police or insufficient?
But it seems like every time we do something, we're questioned. You know, as a police officer, I can't hit a pause button. I can't, as I'm responding to effect an arrest, I can't hit a pause button and then kind of stand back and look what I have. I have to react based on my training about what I know in the situation, and then I have to justify that to a court in a report. And I think that's the message here, Greta, is the fact that as police officers, we're called to task to explain every single thing we do. I'm quick to go to my guys and support them because I know how they're trained, I know what they do out there, and I want to tell them all the time how much I support them. One of the first things the governor did when he became governor, he went to New Orleans to talk to my guys that were on the streets in New Orleans to let them know that as governor, he's going to support them. He's going to do everything he can to make sure they've got the equipment they need, but also to hear those words as a police officer. Because I think back in my career, to hear the words from a leader or from a governor that says, you know what, I support you, you're safe with me. That's critical words, and police officers, first responders, they need to hear that. They've got to hear that, Greta, and it needs to come from chiefs, from sheriffs, and believe me, it's coming from our leaders right here, including our governor.
And you know, we citizens could probably do it too when we bump into you in, like, at the grocery store or the you know, the 7-Eleven or at the gas station, or even when you pull us over for you know, going a few miles over the speed limit. You know, we could afford to do that as well. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. I'm sorry that we're talking about such a horrible topic, but thank you for joining us, sir.